Neocolor II crayons are super popular with all kinds of artists, for good reason. Let me show you how I use them in my art. Hi there, I'm Janine. I'm an artist and I share my creative journey on this channel. One of my favourite art supplies are the Caran Neocolor II crayons. These are waxy, highly pigmented crayons that are water soluble. Caran actually makes two types of Neocolor, Neocolor 1 and Neocolor 2. The difference is that Neocolor 1s aren't water soluble, but Neocolor 2 crayons are water soluble. There are so many ways you can use them in both abstract and representational art, of course. If you're interested in my tips and tricks, then keep watching. If you've watched a few of my videos before, you already know that I'm obsessed with these Caran Neocolor II Aquarelle crayons. So first I bought just a few colours, like I think the salmon colour and the cinnamon, probably Payne's Grey, all the ones that are broken here, and I think a white. And then I also found this really basic tin that I had, I want to say about 20 years ago. I found it still at my parents' house. So I took it with me. And then I had all the basic colours. And I kept on adding a few colours here and there. And I just keep them in this little jar. The problem with that is the smaller ones get lost. So I think I should have them in like a tray and have them lying down. So my amazing husband gave me this for my birthday a little while ago now, which is all the colours they have. But I have been a bit intimidated to use them because look at how beautiful they are. There's 2 layers in here. Oh, in the metal tray. Just look at all these amazing colours. So I haven't really used the set very much yet. I kept on just going back to these, but I definitely want to try and work more with the other colours. I will swatch them for you at the end so you can see what all the colours look like. But first I want to tell you a little bit more about how I actually like to use them. One thing that's great to do with them, if you're starting a sketch or even a finished painting, depends on the way you work, these are great to start out with. It doesn't matter if you're a representational painter or abstract. Let's say I want to start some abstract sketch. You can just go in with them really free. It doesn't really matter what never matters. It doesn't really matter what marks you make. Just get something down on the page and then you don't have a blank page anymore. And then you can go in with some water and dissolve some of it. Let's say this line is too intense. You can just kind of almost erase it. But because they're a little bit waxy, you always see a little bit of it left, which I think is so beautiful. And then you can create these beautiful washes, or you can let some just dry on the page. And they're just really fun to play with. And once they dry, they re-wet again. So keep that in mind if you want to go over and layer. They will re-wet and move. Actually, you can see this doesn't re-wet that much, but I think that's part of this paper. Let's say you're a representational painter. If you want to paint, let's say, a little still life with some sort of apple and a vase. Again, you can just do a little sketch first. I know, I'm not a representational painter, so this isn't the best sketch. And then you can also just actually make a bigger brush. You can then go over it with a wet brush and kind of dissolve it a little bit. And that gives you just the most beautiful underpainting that you can then paint on top of and use this as your sketch. But you can see all the lines are blurring now. And it's not just a harsh sketch, it's a lot more painterly, which I love. I have done a little bit of still life recently and I really enjoyed doing that. There's a few different ways you can use them. One way, of course, is where you put down the dry Neocolor and then blend it with water. Or you just use the dry Neocolor and don't use water at all. Another thing you can do is put down water first and then take the Neocolor and go into the wet, which makes a much bolder line. It gets kind of creamy. And what I also like is from the wet area to the dry area, it kind of drags out and then just very slowly turns into a dry line. Here you can see that. I think that's a really beautiful effect. See here, where it's gone over the dried bit. And then also if you just use it very gently, don't press down as much as I did here before, and it's much easier to just use it as almost like watercolor, where you barely have any lines left, but it still leaves like a very light texture, which is very interesting. And you can also blend two colors together, like this green and the brown now merging. So you can overlay them as well. Say you want I always like to use complementary colors. So let's say you have this reddish brown. And then you add a more greenish color like this one. Well, that's basically what I did. Let's use a different green, this one. Then you add the water. You can create a mixed colour. And they do get quite intense if you use a lot of the crayon on the paper. And then you can kind of blend it out. It's a beautiful neutral colour. Greyish neutral. Then let's say I have some wet paint. Let's use some of this gouache. It's a acrylic gouache by Turner, greyish green. I usually just do this with acrylic, so let's see if it works with this gouache. I just had that there. Got a layer of that. So I usually do this with pure acrylic paint. And then you go in with a Neocolor II into the wet paint. And it kind of scrapes it away. So depending on how dry your layer is, it will scrape more or less away. And then you see how it dragged the paint and had it almost as like an edge to the line. It mixes a little bit. Really nice. And then again, you can blend it while it's still wet if you wanted to. This next technique I started doing fairly recently, but I've been doing that a lot in my latest series. If you have acrylic, or it doesn't really matter what paint, let's say you have an acrylic painting, I very much like to mix my media. I like to mix the Neocolors with the acrylics. So let's choose a colour here. This reddish brown again. I just add a little bit, like I've shown you earlier, where you don't press down very much. So it doesn't show a lot of texture. And then I go over it and create a glaze. So it basically works like watercolor in that case. And you see that because the acrylic already has quite a lot of texture, you don't even see the marks where you put the Neocolor down. You can even pick some up and put it down in a different spot. And that is really fun. I really enjoy doing that. Just actually do a little bit more. So this is salmon. And you see the lighter ones are quite chalky actually. If you like this video, consider subscribing. Now, I did say that they re-wet even when they're dry. So if it's not just in your sketchbook, or even if you care about your sketchbook more than I do, you will want to fix them so they don't budge. Now, to fix them, you would use a spray fixative. The one I use is the Spectrafix. I use it because it's a little bit more eco-friendly, but it's not the best one. So if you have a favorite fixative, comment down below and let me know. Now, you want to use the fixative outside or in a very well ventilated space. So I'm going to do outside and do that quickly. I've added 3 layers of the fixative, of the spray fixative. Now let's see if it still moves a little bit. Yeah, see? It still moves. So what I like to do, you take a clean brush, I've just cleaned it a little bit, and some gloss medium, and apply that on top. But I'll show you the way I apply it, so hopefully it doesn't move very much. Now, I have to say that in my artwork, I don't really mind if things move a little bit. So it depends on the kind of art you make, probably. But I'll show you this and then you can try it for yourself. Maybe not on your favorite piece of painting first. Just do a little test. So you take a tiny bit of the gloss medium and then just do it on this one. I'll just literally dab it on top over the line. Not sure this brush is very clean. And you want to make sure you wet the brush once, but then you want it pretty dry. So squeeze out the excess moisture. And you want a very, very soft brush, as soft as you can get it really. So it doesn't smudge. So you take a little bit of the medium and then you just dab it on top. Yeah, that brush wasn't very clean. And also it will pick up a little bit. So you want to like wipe off your brush while you're doing it. And then you're basically adding a layer of plastic, which is what acrylic is, on top. And then you let that dry, and I tend to do 2 layers. So once it's dry, I do another layer, and then it will not move because it's got plastic on top. And this is how I fix my Neocolor in my paintings. I don't actually bother in sketchbooks. I don't mind if things move in my sketchbooks, but if you're very precious about your sketchbook, you might even want to do it there. I only do it for finished paintings.
Have you ever felt his fingertips sending shivers down your spine? It's enough to make you lose your sense, enough to make you lose your mind. There's magic in the way he moves, always steady, ever wild. his heartbreak he holds close. Can feel it in the way he sighs. Maybe there's a way to fake. I can stop my hands from shaking every time I feel like a fool. But all I know is I'll be awake for an hour or two. But for now, oh for now, it's the wakening in my chest. It's the changing of the moon. It's the way I know one day when I'm old I might not have you. Oh, maybe there's a God above. If he can teach us how to love, then all make it through. But all I know is I need you here for an hour or two. Cause for now, oh for now, I want you, I want you, I want you. I'd do and take all my love and lay it on you. But all I know is I'll be awake for an hour or two. But for now, oh for now, for now, oh for now, I've got you.
Let me know in the comments if and how you use these crayons. You can watch me paint with them in my latest series actually, and I made a whole playlist for that up here. Thanks and bye bye.